Bush's announcement opened a new frontier. It committed NASA to returning a man to the moon by as early as 2017 and building long-term lunar settlements.
When we're talking about going back to the moon, we're talking about not just going there to stay 3 days and come home with some scientific samples. We're talking about the idea of staying, learning to live there, or learning to actually live off the land using the resources that we find.
The new program is forcing scientists to face up to a new series of problems. One of the most important is rocket design. A permanent lunar base requires a lot more equipment, so NASA is designing missions using 2 spacecraft for each trip.
We're talking about a lunar mission here that has a lot more capability than the Apollo missions had back in the late 60s and early 70s. So what we'll do is we'll launch one mission from Earth. That's the cargo vehicle with the lander. We'll launch a second mission, is the crew.
To break out of the Earth's gravitational field, these huge rockets will have to accelerate at over 24,000 miles an hour. That's around 23 times the speed of sound. Several days later, these enormous craft will rendezvous in space and perform an extraordinarily intricate maneuver as they line up with only centimeters of tolerance and dock.
After this rendezvous occurs, we will inject to the moon. We'll go into orbit around the moon.
The lander will carry everything for the crew to survive, including all their oxygen, water, and power supplies. The first return journey will cost around $100 billion. It would have cost even more, but NASA is relying on at least some technologies developed back in the 1960s.
The guys who designed the Apollo missions were pretty bright. They got all the physics right. So the reason you would pick a capsule, for example, is because a capsule is the right shape for coming back through the atmosphere of the Earth at very high speeds. So we tried to borrow as much of that as we could.
What is technologically new and totally untested is building a permanent lunar settlement and learning to live in the most difficult environment man has ever faced.